So guys, up to this point, we've seen that Bronson wins his semifinal match and tells Rick that he's ready for the next fight. Hearing this, Rick gets nervous and locks himself in his room. However, Midget makes Rick realize that fighting a powerful opponent like Bronson has always been Bronson's dream, and Bronson trained Rick for this very reason. So, with renewed courage, Rick decides to fight Bronson. At that moment, Bronson notices Rick's determination and begins telling him the history of the Rakan Fist. He says, 46 years ago, when I was just 5 years old, I realized I was very different from everyone else. I thought differently from others and understood human culture and language through their books, which is why I chose the name Bronson. When oxen fight, they share their views through it to understand each other, but I was so strong that I couldn't understand them at all. I tried to teach them to light fires, build houses, and speak, but soon, they began treating me like a god, and they were afraid to come near me. Even my father, mother, and brother didn't come close. When there was any argument among them, they solved it by fighting, and they would enjoy their meal together at night, while I watched from afar. In simple words, I was alone. One day, it was raining heavily, and I was far from my companions. When I returned, everything was destroyed. That's when I realized I didn't feel any sorrow for their loss, not even when my family died. This made me understand just how lonely I was. Another day, while I was reading a book, a man named Reinhardt attacked me. Seeing that I was different from other oxen, he grew curious about me. After telling him my story, he realized how alone I truly was and that I was looking for someone I could fight with at full strength. He then told me about his dream and said he was a companion of Yamato the hero, whose dream was to defeat Kaiser's fate. I liked his idea, and I agreed to join him. I promised that while pursuing this dream, I would meet others who are as strong or even stronger than me. Thus, I became an adventurer, and we founded the Oraculum Fist together. Soon, others as strong as me joined us. Everyone had different powers, but I was still looking for someone I could fight at full strength, like how oxen fought. I made a training plan, but Midget said no one could complete it. Reluctantly, I gave up. But then, you came along, Rick, and life surprised me again. I think I've said too much. Let's focus on the match now. Rick starts thinking, Master Bronson has always been with me during my training these past 2 years. Now I realize how much time he's spent training me. I could easily attack him with Thread Slicer and defend myself with Airshot, but is that how I really want to fight? Master Bronson told me that the quarter thumbs up is very important among oxen because they use it when they want to fight without defending or dodging. Rick gives Bronson the quarter thumbs up, shocking everyone. Bronson asks, Rick, do you really want to do this? Rick thinks to himself, forgive me, Renette, but I don't think we'll make it to Horse Spring together. Renette thinks, you've always been like this. That's why I love you. Bronson realizes there's no need for further words and also gives Rick the quarter thumbs up. The two throw powerful punches at each other, causing the ground around them to break and injuring them both. They then start fighting with full strength. Rick wonders, why was I afraid? Why was I running from this fight? It's because of them that I've come this close to my dream. Repaying that debt is worth it. Their fierce battle weakens Arena's defense, and Midget tells Alice to share her mana, teleporting everyone outside the arena. Calvin asks, what did you do? Midget replies, I sent them outside because I figured you wouldn't want them getting hurt. Meanwhile, Arena's defense barrier collapses due to the intense battle between Rick and Bronson. Everyone is shocked as they find themselves outside. Chef says, what kind of fight is this? Angelica notes, Rick has landed more attacks on Bronson. Snap responds, but Bronson attacks are stronger than Rick's. Bronson punches Rick down to the ground, and Rick struggles to stand up. He recalls his training with Bronson and gets back on his feet. The fight resumes, and Bronson starts enjoying it more and more, hitting Rick so hard that the arena's wall breaks. Rick, now severely injured, thinks, is this all I can do? Maybe I've done enough. I should go home and rest. I'm sure Master Bronson will be satisfied. But wait, he still seems ready to fight, and I can still move my fingers. Angelica says, I think this fight is over. Renette responds, not yet. Alice adds, he hasn't even gotten serious yet. Rick thinks, for Master Bronson, this is a fight. But I haven't fought him at the same level. This won't be enough to repay my debt. Rick's inherent skill activates, surprising everyone. Runner says, This is Master Ricky's inheritance. Midget explains, we trained Rick without telling Master Bronson, and because of that training, Rick is able to control his power now. Renette adds, to activate his inheritance, a person must have the resolve to surpass their limits when facing a stronger enemy. Midget clarifies, you don't need magic or physical strength to activate it, just willpower. Renette says, in fact, this battle is just beginning. Calvin wonders, so what were they doing until now? The fight between Rick and Bronson continues, shocking everyone as the arena gets destroyed. Bronson finally realizes, I've always wanted a fight like this, but I never noticed that I already had friends who depend on me, care for me, and would do anything for me. I should have realized long ago that I wasn't alone. Rick and Bronson, both exhausted, reach their limits. Angelica says, they're both at their breaking point. Calvin adds, the next hit will decide the winner. Rick and Bronson throw one last punch with all their strength, causing a massive explosion. Angelica asks, who won? We then see that both Rick and Bronson are badly injured. Rick says, you're really strong. After all that, I still didn't win. He collapses. Bronson replies, what are you saying? You helped fulfill my dream, so this is your victory too. He collapses as well. 3 days later, Rick wakes up, and everyone is relieved to see him recovering. Renette says, your inheritance training finally paid off. Rick notices a championship belt and asks, why'd I have this belt? Master Bronson won the championship, didn't he? Bronson replies, no, Rick. You won. Thank you for your courage. I know you could have healed yourself 30 times in that condition, and I don't think I could have beaten you. You're very strong, Rick. Midget, Alice, and Renette thank Rick for helping them achieve their dream. Midget jokes, boss, what are you talking about? Ray says, what's going on here? Angelica explains, Midget and the others helped with Rick's inheritance training to surprise Bronson. We then see Bronson extracting a magic crystal from the championship belt, but Renette has already prepared another crystal to replace it, and Alice uses her magic to make it look identical to the original. Angelica says, I'll pretend I didn't see anything. Rick asks, by the way, how old do you think Mr. Renaud is? Yamato's story is 200 years old, so he must be really old. Bronson replies, no one knows his age, but if he has inheritance, he's still around. He probably ran off because he missed the deadline to return his books. Snap tells Calvin, Bronson and Rick have given up the championship, and they've deleted their fighter registry, so you're the champion again. Calvin refuses to accept the title, but Snap insists, please, we need you. At least keep the belt. As everyone says their goodbyes, we see Bronson reflecting on how his old dream has been fulfilled. Alice asks, will Angelica leave now? Angelica says she needs to go home but promises to visit Alice and play with her. She also reveals that she'll be training under Bronson, shocking Rick, who asks, do you have a death wish? Angelica responds, I've decided that I'll catch up to you and surpass you one day. Rick imagines the hot springs trip he promised Renette and says, actually, I didn't win the match, so I can't take you there just yet. Midget adds, that's right. And with that, the adventure continues.